The main elements of interior design are well documented, but some have been forgotten about in the rush to discover a new product, designer or business. Today we're going to look at the 7 elements of interior design that you'll need to look at when you are designing any room or property. So in no particular order, let's get started. Negative or unfurnished space is as important as the furnished. You don't have to fill every available space, of course, but it is wise not to overpopulate a room with furniture and accessories. In small spaces, you can put large objects in to fool the eye into thinking that it is larger than it is. You tend to see this a lot in hallways, large pots in corners, huge artwork, etc. In long rooms, consider splitting up the room to create different areas of interest. Also think about what the room gets used for. If a spare room is used mostly as a study, despite having a spare bed in it, put the study desk in the area with the most light. You need to be practical. You need to be able to move around each object and sit down without knocking into things. It's simply ergonomics, but it does need to be thought about, preferably earlier on in the scheme. How much light do you have in the day? I mean the sunrise, midday and dusk. You need to really evaluate where your light is coming from, and then you can look at what colour applications will enhance that particular space. Consider ambient lighting at night, which is often the most important for most people, being at the time when they're at home, of course. When I think of light, I often think of shadow. So light streaming in is great for every room, but where doesn't it hit? If you're going to light places with no direct daylight, you need to work out what works best, be it wall, floor or overhead lighting, and then plan accordingly, again, earlier on in the scheme. What does the room lend itself to, furnishing wise? How can you accentuate good shapes with colour and hide bad shapes and other flaws? Alcoves, fireplaces, L-shaped rooms, they can all appear in awkward places within a home. Most alcoves, of course, are tailor-made for bookcases, and it's rare these days to see either side of a fireplace not populated with built-in joinery, heaving with books. Larger alcoves make perfect places for TV screens, of course, either with a base or fastened onto the wall. You need to utilise what you have, not what you wish you have. Line is harder to work with, but in essence you can enhance good lines and beams and windows with furniture running along the same line. Blocking these lines can jar the eye, as diagonals often make people feel uncomfortable. Working on right angles is a very simple way to make things appear symmetrical, even if they aren't. Accentuate the furniture with rugs and artwork running along the same lines as that furniture. As important as lighting, colour is often the defining attribute of a home. Some go overboard, some stick to neutrals, and if you do stick to neutrals, think about applying 3 or 4 different shades to different walls to project some depth and to keep the space interesting. Colour affects size, so apply it carefully. Use a darker colour if you want to bring walls closer, and light tones to widen a room. And don't forget to paint the woodwork and especially ceilings, which are often called the 5th wall. Choosing a different colour for these areas as opposed to white is often one of the best decisions that you can make. It can actually really change a room's feeling, but not in that really shocking, abrasive way. Not as easy as people think. Pattern can be about texture too, but more of that in a moment. Think about prints and patterns and use the repetition in design trick. And this is when things such as radiators with vertical finishes can be duplicated by using stripes in window treatments, cushions and rug designs. Don't be afraid of using print with print. It takes guts, but it can be very rewarding and unique. Not every pattern has to have symmetry or indeed match. Remember, leopard spots and freckles work naturally, and they both have non-symmetrical pattern. If curtains, sofas and cushions are all silk and shiny, for example, the overall harmony is not as good as multi-textured. When considering texture, try and bind the scheme together to give a uniform look. Similar to a hotel suite, the bedroom and the sitting room work together seamlessly, despite being different uses. Texture can be many things: leather, fur, wool, felt, silk, cotton, boucle, shears, wood, porcelain, mirror, marble, metal, concrete, paper or glass. Make good use of them all and don't stick to the same things in each of your designs. So those are the 7 elements of interior design. I know it can be confusing when you're dreaming up schemes, but if you are in doubt as to what to choose, perhaps it's a good idea to turn to nature. Go for a walk, look up at the trees, down at the earth and see what tones are naturally attractive, and then add a punch of colour. So for example, saffron cushions can work very well against an olive sofa. It's reminiscent of vibrant flowers seen in many woodlands, for example. These 7 elements are the mainstay of any design. Putting all this into practice takes time, effort, vision and execution. Let me know if you struggle on any one in particular and I'll dive into that in greater depth for you. In the meantime, happy designing.